for tuning in to Local News Live, a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with the Acadiana Advocate and the Advocate at Large in Louisiana, covering all the news from coast to coast in Louisiana. And we bring you our local and state news, as well as maybe some national tidbits, every Monday through Friday between 9 and 10 a.m. We could not do that without the generous volunteer effort of our news readers, our growing from home numbers now as we navigate this situation we find ourselves in. And this morning we are honored to be joined by Bruce Cohen. Bruce, good morning.
Well, good morning to you, Mr. Matt, my man.
Thanks so much, Bruce, for being here to read the news. I'm sure we have a bunch of it, so I'm just going to get out of the way and let you take it away and listen on Cypress Street. Thanks, Bruce.
Well, thank you, Matt. I'm honored to do so. Well, good morning, Acadiana. It is Monday, August the 3rd, 2020. The year is moving along. This will definitely be one year that nobody will ever forget because of all that's going on. And of course, the first story, first couple of stories I'm going to read this morning are all about the school districts and how they're dealing with this pandemic. So let's get started. Acadiana schools see spike in online class enrollments by Kitty Gagliano. Acadiana school districts are seeing roughly 1/4 to 1/3 of their student populations enroll or pre-register for fully virtual learning programs as the start of the school rapidly approaches amid continued high coronavirus case numbers regionally. The Acadia, Iberia, St. Martin, Lafayette Parish school districts are slated to return to classes August 17th. In Acadia, Iberia, and St. Martin, students in pre-kindergarten through 5th grade will attend in-person classes full-time, while 6th through 12th grade students will operate on a hybrid in-person and online learning schedule. In Lafayette, all students will be on a hybrid schedule. Each parish offers a fully virtual, student-paced learning alternative for parents who can't or don't want to send their children back to face-to-face classes. In Lafayette, district administrators are asking interested parents to commit their children to the Lafayette Online Academy by 4:30 p.m. today as they work to get ahead on staffing needs. As of Thursday, the Lafayette Parish School System had 7,500 applications for its virtual program. District spokeswoman Allison Dickerson said the district has roughly 32,000 students. Surrounding districts are seeking comparable numbers. In Acadia Parish, 2,100 students have pre-registered for the district's new A+ campus program as of Friday morning. School Superintendent Scott Richard said the district has a student population of roughly 9,500 and in K through 12. Like in Lafayette, students on the A+ campus will take self-paced classes through Edge Unity with pre-recorded lessons with the option of assistance from teachers in Acadia Parish. This is the first time Acadia Parish is offering a fully virtual learning option for students. The A+ campus was in the planning phases before the coronavirus pandemic struck, but the pandemic forced the district to accelerate the program's development, Richard said. We're encouraged and excited about being able to offer the program, but we certainly realize it will also be a lot of trial and error, needing a lot of adjustments and a lot of effective communication with our parents and our students because it's going to be a new experience, he said. Online courses through Edge Unity have been used in limited settings in Acadia Parish before the pandemic. Middle and high school students use the program for summer credit recovery, some foreign language credits, and a limited number of high school courses, Richard said. Students will be granted a 2-week grace period to test out the A+ campus program and will be given the option to transfer back to a traditional classroom setting if it's not the right fit. After that, students will be asked to make a longer-term commitment to the virtual program, though some exceptions may be made, he said. It's very difficult right now to deal in absolutes on anything, realize that this is a rapidly changing environment, and we respect that, and we respect our parents and our students. We know things change and variables change, not only for them, but for us. We also want to have that outlet to be able to address extenuating circumstances, Richard said. While Acadia Parish is building its virtual program from the ground up, Iberia and St. Martin parishes are scaling up small but existing programs that several dozen students to serve several thousand this fall. In Iberia Parish, 3,916 students had signed up to take classes through the Iberia virtual program as of Friday morning, said Heath Hewlin, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction. The district has a total student population of about 12,800. He said through conversations with parents, the district is anticipating a large percentage of the enrolled students will return to the hybrid learning setting after the first 9 weeks. I think it's a good comfort to the parents be able to have this to get over the hump and allow things to kind of stabilize, Hewlin said. I think very few of the 3,900 are anticipating that they're committing to this for the entire school year. A lot of them are using it as a temporary solution. That may change as coronavirus case numbers continue to fluctuate, Hewlin said. The district is working to be flexible with parents and will allow students to transfer from the virtual environment back to an in-person or hybrid learning environment at the end of each 9-week grading period. Reintegration into the classroom should be smooth because most of the virtual and traditional classes can be aligned, but it's possible some students will need to complete courses online because they're not available in person. There are variations between some school courses, mainly electives, and what's offered through EdUnity, he said. Iberia School Superintendent Carrie Lafayette said district staff members are chronicling the scope and sequence for each class on the topics and concepts covered in the curriculum to offer parents a guide to what's being taught in which order, so as students return to a face-to-face classroom, they'll be aligned with their peers' learning as possible. Pre-COVID-19, the district's Iberia virtual program was used full-time by about 30 students annually, while others used online courses for credit recovery in middle and high school campuses, Lafayette said. With the spiking interest, the district is looking to possibly assign teachers without full class schedules to on-call hours, where they can be available to monitor student progress and answer questions from students in the virtual program. Staffing and decisions and the staffing structure is still being ironed out as enrollment numbers are confirmed, she said. If need be, we're going to contract with some other teachers after hours and pay them. We're going to do whatever it takes for our kids to be successful, Lafayette said. In St. Martin Parish, Superintendent Alan Blanchard said the system will likely assign teachers at each school to manage the online student population. It's possible teachers who are high risk for COVID-19 could be prioritized for those slots. Additionally, he's exploring having teachers register for overtime slots to be available from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. to assist virtual students and their parents. Blanchard said they're considering a similar system with their technology department to provide technical support with students' Chromebooks. As of Friday morning, 2,200 students had enrolled in St. Martin's virtual learning program, Blanchard said. The school system has a population of roughly 7,400 pre-K through 12th grade students. On average, the program served about 180 students annually in full-time virtual and partially virtual classes, he said. Continuing with school news in the area, some parents find school options lacking. Deadline to commit to Lafayette Online Academy criticized by Katie Gagliano. Some Lafayette parents are frustrated by the way they perceive it as a rush to return to school and feel boxed in by limited options, as the district asked parents to commit their children to Lafayette Online Academy 2 weeks before the start of school. On Wednesday, the Lafayette Parish School System announced it was asking parents who had applied for a slot in the Lafayette Academy to commit their children to the self-directed online teaching program by 4:30 p.m. today to allow time for staffing decisions. If they didn't, their application would be purged from the system, a district release said. Parents expressed frustration about the change online, writing in personal posts and parent Facebook groups. They felt hemmed in by the request and felt like they were losing opportunities to decide what was best for their children. Some don't believe the virtual school's EdUnity learning program will provide a quality educational experience, while others are comfortable with the program, but still question the rush to return to classes where more preparation would be valuable to everyone. Brandy Broussard Williams committed her 15-year-old daughter and 14-year-old son, a junior and freshman at Acadiana High, respectively, to the Lafayette Online Academy on Saturday. Williams says she sat her children down earlier in the summer and told them they would not be returning to in-person classes in the fall, yet the coronavirus was still a threat in their community. When the Lafayette Online Academy was advertised as an option, Williams decided to shift from a homeschooling plan to the virtual learning option. She said her children have used EdUnity in the past for limited coursework, and her eldest son is graduating from the Edward J. Sam Accelerated School of Lafayette, predominantly used EdUnity for his courses, so they're comfortable with the platform. Williams works from home as a customer service representative for Waiter and will be able to monitor her children's learning. She's concerned about how responsive teachers and support roles will be when she can't help her kids navigate the Common Core strategies. She's also worried about ensuring her son, who has ADHD and oppositional defiance disorder, or ODD, receive accommodations like the extended testing time he received during an in-person class. If the Lafayette Online Academy proves difficult for their children, the mother of three says she's going to school systems resources and private tutoring before sending her two youngest back to Acadiana High. Attending in-person classes right now is not an option because she doesn't feel confident the school system is prepared to handle virus safety protocols, she said. I think it's going to be chaos, Williams said. I feel like adults aren't complying with priorities or policies. So how are we going to think kids will do that at school? We have adults now that are not wearing masks when they go out, even though it's mandatory to wear a mask now. Kids feed off grown-ups. If they see their parents are not doing it when they're going to go to school and they're going to say, I don't believe I have to do it because my mom doesn't do it or my dad doesn't do it. And then they're putting my kid's life in jeopardy, she said. The kids were opposed at first, she said. Her son is excited to learn the high school ropes, and her daughter is ready to enjoy upperclassmen privileges and continue with JROTC. When she explained school won't be like it was in the past and spoke to them candidly about the dangers of the virus, they warmed to the idea, Williams said. Two family members tested positive for COVID-19 after encountering an infected person, and both were asymptomatic. It's scary that you don't know who can be carrying the virus, she said. Amanda Reeves says she'll be waiting until the last moment to confirm her youngest daughter's spot in the Lafayette Online community. Reeves says she shed countless tears and spent sleepless nights fighting over making the best decision for her children, and she's holding out hope that circumstances will change before 4:30 p.m. today. Reeves' eldest daughter, a 13-year-old at Scott Middle, was enrolling in the Lafayette Online Academy this year for personal reasons before the pandemic struck, but her youngest daughter is a fifth grader in the magnet program at J. Wallace James Elementary and was planning to finish her elementary career there. The 10-year-old has been at J. Wallace James since kindergarten and loves the school, but her 13-year-old sister has asthma, and the family doesn't want to risk the virus being brought into their home. Reeves isn't confident that EdUnity-based online program will work well for her daughter, but she was told if she pursued the non-LPSS options like homeschooling or virtual charter school, her fifth grader would lose her spot in the Magnet Academy. The mother of two says she feels like the district is bullying parents into choosing between bad options. I'm beyond appalled about the lack of what feels like compassion and concern. The school board and LOA and everyone has now, we're all going to try to make this the best decision for our kids, Reeve said. Reeve says she understands the district needs to plan, but she's frustrated that options to transition between learning settings and make last-minute changes are being reduced. When, by the district's own admission, the facts are changing each day, she said. Communication and decision-making at the school system needs to be more transparent, he says. Rhonda Kim Gleason, a local education advocate and mother of three, is similarly frustrated and is working with Lafayette families to push back against the school system's plans and raise concerns about student, staff, and community safety, as well as inequities caused by the district's return plan. While people want to return to normalcy, that's not necessarily the best plan for us, she said. Having a business as usual attitude is a viral pandemic is embarrassing, Gleason said. She's hopeful the school board will listen more closely to the parent outcry and reconsider reopening plans at the August 12th board meeting. Gleason has a 16-year-old daughter who's a junior at Lafayette High and a 7-year-old daughter who's a second grader at Myrtle Place Elementary. The Lafayette Online Academy may work well for a second grader, will still need French immersion supplements, but it will sorely underserve for a 16-year-old who's slated to take 4 AP courses and 3 gifted classes this year, she said. Some of the courses aren't offered, and those that aren't won't provide the rigorous discussion, critical thinking opportunities, or engaging teaching methods that make advanced courses beneficial, she said. They're hoping to amend the district's proposed hybrid learning schedule so she could learn the same materials as her peers but not attend in-person classes. How that might work is up in the air, and attendance requirements are one obvious hurdle, she said. Gleason has multiple sclerosis and a partially ablated immune system, and she and her children have adhered to a strict stay-at-home plan since the pandemic started in March. They've stayed at home, saved bi-monthly trips to the grocery store, visits from home health care nurses for treatments, and the occasional distanced and mass visit with loved ones, taking similar safety precautions. The longest Gleason has been in public was when she spoke at the July 22nd school board meeting about the district's proposed reopening plan. I was not pleased to feel that I had to go and do that. I felt very uncomfortable. As an advocate, I wanted to say something, knowing about my health situation, knowing about the inequity for my own kids, and being an educator, knowing about inequities that are occurring across the board for kids, she said. Gleason says she's fearful the school board is prioritizing economic concerns and the reopening of the economy over scientific evidence, while the school system surveyed prayers to get input on their prospective plans, surveyed parents get input on their prospective plans. Those answers were taken weeks ago and no longer reflect the current context of the virus's reality in the community, she said. Gleason, Reeves, and Williams said they believe the start date for school should be pushed back so virus case numbers can decline, teachers and other staff members can better prepare for new safety measures, and the district can further resolve inequities facing students. Then when school begins, they believe it should start 100% virtual, with students operating in a phase 1 plan. It would be better for children and families, Gleason said. If all the kids aren't being served, I believe that's a failure. I don't appreciate being on the receiving end of good fortune when other students are not being served. I believe we need to reach out as advocates for one another because then more people will thrive, she said. Okay, well, we're at the point in our broadcast this morning where I can announce a couple of public service announcements. The first one is a unique PSA. Have you ever wanted a poem written just for you? Well, here's your chance to have a lovely story or poem written by one of esteemed authors. There's a program called Words for You, a fundraiser for Festival of Words. It's going on currently, and you can find information at festivalwords.org. Or you can contact Martha Gardner at fowmartha@gmail.com, or you can call her at 337-804-2482. During a difficult year, creative expression is more important than ever. Festival Words has developed an alternative fundraiser for WordCrawl. Words for You is a project of commissioned poems, stories, and songs. Under this project, festival supporters will have the opportunity to commission a work by a favorite author. So how it works is there are approximately 30, or I think at the last count there were over 40 authors available to choose from. Again, you can go to Festival of Words, all lowercase, festivalofwords.org to begin the process. And on the homepage at the very top, there's a red banner that says Words for You, and click on that and it gives you all the information. Choose an author to create an original work for you. Make a donation online. Fill out a brief questionnaire about yourself to help the author get started. The writer receives the request and creates a new work based on the prompts. A virtual performance for the new works will take place on Wednesday, September 10th. Note limited to one piece per author, but I believe some authors are taking more than, or writing for more than one person. Some of the volunteer authors this year include Darrell Bork, former poet laureate for the state of Louisiana, Dominic Cross, a columnist for the Advocate, Tony Daspit, Gina Ferrara, Mona Lisa Saloy, Valentine Pierce, John Warner Smith, the current poet laureate for the state, and many more. Donations are $50 for one original work or $100 for a poem by a current or former poet laureate. Again, if you're interested, you can contact Martha at fowmartha@gmail.com or 337-804-2482 or Patrice Melnick at festivalwords@gmail.com or 337-254-9695. AOC teams up with United Way of Acadiana for Learn United. United Way of Acadiana has teamed up with AOC and other local educational groups for Learn United, bridging the digital gap to provide educational resources for thousands that don't have internet but do have a television. The Learn United program airs weekdays from 8 to 2 on AOC2, Cox 15, LUS 4, and streaming at aocinc.org/watch. For daily schedules and to submit content for the program, visit the United Way of Acadiana website. That's unitedwayofacadiana.org/learn-united. And we'll get back into our stories for today. Next one is entitled Giving Slump, Nonprofits Weigh Other Paths for Fundraising by Ken Stickney. Those who raise funds for Acadiana's nonprofit agencies and causes are finding a mixed bag for results in the COVID-19 economic environment. Some hits, some misses, and some signs of wait until next year. Because of the economic environment and the pandemic, folks are generally much more conservative, said Raymond Hebert, Executive Director and CEO of the Community Foundation of Acadiana, which helps and advises nonprofits. Not all nonprofits are the same. Some are clearly struggling more than others, he said. Some donors have actually stated that they are pulling a moratorium on charitable giving for the time being. If companies are weighing in how to keep people employed, they're not going to donate much. United Way of Acadiana, for 7 decades, a leader in effecting change through shared vision and partner agencies, like with the AOC, is experiencing challenges in raising funds this year. The goal, to match last year's $1.7 million raised during the current campaign, which launched July 1st and will last for year's end. Elsa Demetriadis, who oversees community impact communications for United Way, says that fundraising may look different this year, but years representatives have appeared at many businesses bolstering pledge campaigns. That might not happen this year given the pandemic. Fundraising events may be rare, but the mission too may look different. We really take the opportunity during COVID-19 to pivot quickly from need to need, she said. That's included serving in roles where help is needed. We're doing new things. We're knee deep in food supply and distribution. Up until this week, we've been supplying food to people who are experiencing homelessness at hotels. We've been feeding the homebound. We've been working both with Second Harvest and with the University of Louisiana to provide food. We've been in food spaces where we haven't been before. Part of the United Way effort has included meeting again with local agencies, recognizing that some might not be able to execute as they have before. In united fashion, they've regrouped to get a pulse of what everyone is doing and where new needs have developed. We've just awarded $440,000 to 26 local programs to meet, Juliana said. Some agencies have scaled back, some have gone virtual. United Way is doing what it does best, discerning needs and being flexible and trying to step up and meet them. We are excited to be in that gap filler, she said. We have seen the generosity of people in Acadiana, she said, in the way of donations. People have found a way to give. We have not seen collections diminish yet. I think we have seen an enormous need. Rather than see a decrease in giving, we've seen an increase in need. Like United Way, the Catholic Diocese of Lafayette also dealt with immediate needs with the few dollars slowed at the pandemic start. Margaret Trahan, Stewardship and Development Director, said income slowed when churches had to close their doors in the face of the health crisis. The diocese reckoned that only about 1/3 of the churches had online giving options for parishioners who typically drop their contributions into collection baskets during Mass. Diocese took action quickly, making sure Catholics in the 8-parish Acadiana area had the option of automatically giving online, which helped the diocese keep its operations afloat. Not all individual parishes offer their flocks the option of automatic contributions, although she said as churches have reopened, some parishioners have opted to return to dropping their envelopes in the basket. Still, the short-term effort bolstered diocesan finances. I think our churches are delivering an important spiritual message, she said. Be at peace, not afraid, and trust in the Lord. The church has really been about providing a message of hope to people when they need it. The loss of charitable events is changing how other nonprofits are raising funds, too. Josh Caffrey, director of the Center for Louisiana Studies, said a campaign to restore the J. Arthur Roy House at University Boulevard and Johnson Street at the corner of the University of Louisiana and Lafayette campus has slowed because of the pandemic. The goal is to raise $375,000 to gain a federal match and restore that treasured home, the sole structure on campus on the National Register for Historic Places, which would become the new site for the center. Caffrey says some supporters of the home and the center have stepped forward with generous gifts, which raised half of the money required to meet the match. But he said the pandemic has prevented fundraisers and the campaign will rest a while as the community tends to offer more immediate health and safety needs. We can't be tone deaf to the moment we are in, Caffrey said. Right now, particularly with how bad the coronavirus has gotten in Lafayette, we haven't been pushing fundraising a lot. We're not beating the bushes. But he said the center continues to hold conversations with people who have interest and means of contributing in order to keep the message out about the Roy House. He said the fundraising is ahead of schedule and they'll hold off until the community is healed. John Blum, CEO of the UL Foundation and Vice President for University Advancement, said the institution has fared well despite a lack of fundraising events and despite the unsettled economy. I think the history of charitable giving has proved to be pretty resilient, he said. It's been that way for years. In fact, he said some $450 billion was donated to social services, healthcare, religious organizations, and higher education, among other causes, in the United States last year. That was up 2.8% from a year before, and he expects giving will remain steady, if not robust. That's not to say we are immune, he said, at the university, and there are pockets of charities that are struggling, but not his, not yet. Blum said events typically don't raise significant contributions. They help individual departments rather than the total giving column. They give campus leaders the chance to engage with donors, their best friends, to thank them, tell the campus's story, and to build enthusiasm for the university. We're missing them terribly, he said of events, but the foundation isn't wasting time. The way we were planning here, we build strong relationship with friends from new graduates to senior citizens. We put extra effort into checking in with donors and saying thank you. It's a good time to ask donors how they are doing, how their families are doing. We use their phone and text to do it in large-scale ways. It's a good time for all charities to be doing that. Bear said the Community Foundation of Acadiana used its website, South Louisiana Giving Day.org, as a way for nonprofits, churches, schools, and others to raise funds. It was successful again this year, even though organizers were uncertain about using it because of the pandemic. He said it drew donors from 41 states and 2 countries in recent years. He suggested that organization fundraisers should consider applying for the CARES Act funds too. Legislation was mostly interested to boost the economy, but is partially aimed at stimulating philanthropy. It offers tax advantage to some donors. No matter how agencies and charitable groups organize the fundraising efforts, he said, their goal ought to be to help others. What comes to mind is let's continue to take care of one another. The pandemic has taught us to be socially distanced, but we are passionate people in Acadiana. I think we should never lose sight of taking care of one another. Okay, it's at that time, halfway mark through our broadcast this morning, when I will read you first a couple of public service announcements, and then we'll get on with the day in history, the zodiac or horoscope, and the funerals in the Acadiana area today. And then will also be a couple other added aspects to this morning's progress. First PSA I will read is Keeping Calm Through COVID hotline. If you're feeling overwhelmed with stress, fear, and anxiety about the uncertainty surrounding the public health emergency, there is a special Keeping Calm Through COVID hotline you can call. This connects you to trained compassionate counselors who can offer support, who can direct you to mental health and substance abuse counseling services. Trained counselors are available 24/7, and all calls are confidential. You can call 1-866-310-7977. That's 866-310-7977. Locally, you can call 311 for the latest COVID-19 updates and information, and a program called Stop the Spread, call instead, hashtag Stop the Spread, or you can visit online at 311 Lafayette.services. Call centers with volunteers and medical professionals are active 24/7 to answer your questions about COVID-19 and to determine if you need to get screened. You can also call 311 and press option 2 if you are a business owner, employee, or are looking for a job to get information about applying for small business recovery loans, apply for unemployment benefits, and other related programs. Okay, we'll look at the day in history. Today is Monday, August 3rd. It's the 216th day of 2020. There are potentially 150 shopping days left in this year. Today's highlight in history: on August 3rd, 1993, the Senate voted 96-3 to confirm Supreme Court nominee Ruth Bader Ginsburg. On this date, in 1807, former Vice President Aaron Burr, and if you're a fan of Hamilton like me, you probably already know this bit of history, but former Vice President Aaron Burr on this date in 1807 went on trial before a federal court in Richmond, Virginia, when charged with treason. He was acquitted less than a month later. In 1863, the first thoroughbred horse race took place at the Saratoga Racecourse in Saratoga Springs, New York. In 1936, Jesse Owens won the first of his 4 gold medals at the Berlin Olympics as he took the 100-meter sprint. In 1949, the National Basketball Association, or the NBA, was formed as a merger of the Basketball Association of America and the National Basketball League. In 1958, the nuclear-powered submarine USS Nautilus became the first vessel to cross the North Pole underwater. 1981, U.S. air traffic controllers went on strike despite a warning from President Ronald Reagan they would be fired, which they were. In 1994, Stephen J. Breyer was sworn in as the Supreme Court's newest justice in a private ceremony at Chief Justice William H. Rehnquist's Vermont summer home. In 2014, Israel withdrew much of the group troops from the Gaza Strip in an apparent winding down of a nearly month-long operation against Hamas that left more than 1,800 Palestinians and more than 60 Israelis dead. 10 years ago, engineers began pumping heavy drilling mud into the blown-out Gulf of Mexico oil well in an attempt to permanently plug the leak. 5 years ago, seeking to clamp down on power plant emissions, President Barack Obama unveiled a federal plan that would attempt to slow global warming by dramatically shifting the way Americans get and use electricity. Opponents denounced the proposal as an egregious federal overreach that would send power prices surging and vowed lawsuits and legislation to try to stop it. 1 year ago, a gunman opened fire at a Walmart store in El Paso, Texas, leaving 22 people dead. Prosecutors said Patrick Crucius targeted Mexicans in hope of scaring Latinos into leaving the U.S., and that he had outlined the plan in a published online shortly before the attack. Crucius had pleaded not guilty to state murder charges. He also faces federal hate crime and gun charges. And birthdays for today, former Football Hall of Famer coach Mark Levy is 95. Singer Tony Bennett is 94 years old. Go Tony with your heart left in San Francisco. Actor Martin Sheen is 80. Martha Stewart is 79. She's getting up there in years. Rock musician B.B. Dickerson is 71. Movie director John Landis is 70. Actor Jay North, who was the original Dennis the Menace, is 69 years old. Wow. Actor John C. McGinley is 61. Rock singer, musician Lee Rocker from the Stray Cats is 59. Rock singer James Hetfield from Metallica is 57. Country musician Dean Sams from Lone Star is 54. Country musician Jimmy Martini from the Zac Brown Band is 44. NFL quarterback and GOAT Tom Brady is 43. And country singer Whitney Duncan is 36. Looking at the zodiac, if you're a Leo, if you let your emotions, not immersions, but emotions, you will be left behind. Best way to handle change is to find a way to fit in any way possible. Think big, be positive, and forge ahead. Virgo, my birth sign, contemplate your next move before making a change. Keep your emotions out of the equation, or you may end up triggering a chain reaction that does more harm than good. Libra, focus on being positive and aligning yourself with people who motivate you, not those who are demanding or argumentative. Expand your mind and pursue creative endeavors. Scorpios, when in doubt, gather the facts before you take action. Given a chance, someone will mislead you. Let your tuition be your guide. Learn from experience and let success be your revenge. Sagittarius, outside interference will cause problems between you and someone you love. Focus on domestic matters and self-improvement projects. Choose peace and love over discord. Capricorn, it's essential to offer solutions that will benefit everyone. Take control and you will bring about better relations. A possible change will improve your home life. Aquarius, you'll have an impact on those who look up to you. If you are understanding, pay close attention to the way you look and how you present yourself to the world. Pisces, change based on emotional influences will create a problem with someone close to you. Consideration, trust, and honesty will make matters more comfortable to deal with as you move forward. Aries, call on those you know and trust to help you make the change or changes that will prompt you in the direction you want to pursue. Personal improvement is favored. Taurus, don't sit around waiting for someone to step in and take over. Put your emotions aside and do what you need to do. Strive for stability. Gemini, don't fall into a pattern that will hold you back. Pay less attention to others and spend more time mapping out how to get ahead. Cancer, finally Cancer, don't take a risk when it comes to business, health, or contracts. Anger solves nothing, but discipline and hard work will lead to success. And as always, the horoscope is an entertainment feature not based on scientific fact. The funerals in the Acadiana area today: Aline Arsenault, St. Elizabeth Seton Catholic Church, 610 Rain Tree Trail in Lafayette at 10:30 a.m. Robert Miller at the Melanson Funeral Home in Opelousas at 2 p.m. and John Weaver, Sunrise Chapel at Walters Funeral Home, 2424 North University Ave in Lafayette at 10 a.m. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of brief. I also want to get to the thought of the day before we go to a brief entertainment article. The thought of the day is: look up at the stars and not down at your feet. Try to make sense of what you see and wonder about what makes the universe exist. Be curious. Quote from Stephen Hawking. Okay, and if you do read the print edition of The Advocate at times, you will notice that in the Acadiana section, close to the end of that section, there is the opinion and commentary pages, or the op-ed pages. And there is the Advocate has a wonderful political cartoonist by the name of Walt Handelsman. And occasionally he puts a cartoon in the paper and then asks readers to make the quote or what the people are saying. So here we have this is the recent one that he put in the contest. We have two people from the olden times, like way back from the caveman era. And they're running. There's a male and a female, and they're running, and the female looks back. They're both wearing masks. The female says, "Let's get out of here. I heard half of Bedrock's got the COVID BC." COVID BC, get it? COVID-19, 2019, COVID BC. Again, a couple other quotes that were runner-ups or finalists. Robert Baudet, and that was the winner was Kai Canty from Crowley. A couple others: Robert Baudet from New Orleans. "Hurry, we've only got 5 minutes before the mayor's moratorium on go drinks kicks in." Daniel Webb from New Orleans. "Run faster. The Thandrils aren't wearing masks." And finally, Joseph Gidget from Lafayette. "Quick, before Grog sees us show any more of his vacation pictures." And that's a little bit of entertainment news for you this morning. So now we're going to get back into, let's see, a couple more PSAs, and then we'll hit some stories here. Medicaid Resources: if you lost your job, if you have Medicaid hours or reduced hours, you may be eligible for Medicaid. You can apply online at mymedicaid.la.gov. You can also apply by phone by calling 1-888-342-6207 or by mail by sending information to Louisiana Medicaid P.O. Box 91283, Baton Rouge, LA, 70821. Local Medicaid offices, I think, are still currently closed to the public because of the pandemic, but additional assistance is needed. Again, you can call 888-342-6207. Also locally, LEDA, individuals whose hours are being reduced at work or have been laid off from employment, may qualify for unemployment insurance benefits, though I know that's The amount is changing as of last week. If you are attempting to apply for unemployment insurance and not able to access an existing online account or need help resetting your password, call Lafayette's Acadiana Workforce Solutions at 337-262-5601. Due to high call volume, some calls may not be answered immediately, so call again. At a later time, or contact one of Louisiana's other local offices for assistance, and you can find that information online at laworks.net. What I mentioned about the unemployment benefits is that you qualify for whatever the state feels you qualify for in regards to your past employment, how much money you've made in the past year or so. But the government was adding to that, and that money has gone away as of last week. But hopefully, the federal government is coming up with a new way to add additional monies to your unemployment benefits. We'll keep our fingers crossed on that one, folks. Okay, getting back into the news. Cameron graduate influential tech giant, company moving operations to Lafayette by Adam Dago, Acadiana business editor. Back in 2004, when information technology was slowly becoming mainstream and Cameron Crowell High School's Academy of Information Technology was starting, teacher Joel Hilbun sought out a student to design an online application form for the program. Enter Casey Bienville. A sophomore then, he was someone who could usually be found in the back of the class working on projects. He had already bought a laptop with money earned mowing lawns, and he and Hilbun had earlier worked on a program that tracked sports stats while games were going on. The online application worked, but Bienville kept tinkering with it, so much so that it was later adopted by the schools in Lafayette Parish, and he kept tinkering. So much so that when he began working with Firefly Digital of Lafayette after college, he got a call in 2012 from East Baton Rouge Parish officials who were interested in the application, which didn't even have a name then. Something happened. When Firefly came to me because East Baton Rouge contacted them and wanted to use the system, that's when the light bulb went off, said Bienville, who now lives in Billings, Montana. Maybe we've got something here. That's how Smart Choice Technologies came to be. Smart Choice not only came to be, but it was the seed of a development that took about 7 years to blossom. It grew from one-man operation into one that merged with Firefly Digital and in 2019 with San Francisco-based SchoolMint, which announced Monday its plan to leave Silicon Valley and move its 178 employee operations to Lafayette. Bienville is now the company's chief software architect. Casey is a pretty amazing guy, as SchoolMint CEO Brian McDonald said. He is the classic sort of get-it-done computer expert. To have him start as a sophomore with a web form and turn that into a product that hundreds of school districts are using is pretty remarkable. It was a great environment for that company to grow, and we're confident it's going to continue to be a great one for us to expand. The tale makes for great storytelling, but inside it is also a story of a transitioning tech industry and how a simple idea, hard work, and connections brought a large company to a mid-sized market in South Louisiana. Bienville began as an intern at Firefly Digital and later worked there after graduating from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette in computer science in 2009, was a tireless worker, always with his laptop, his parents noted. It was almost a 24-hour deal with him when he first started off with Smart Choice, said his dad, Morris Bienville. He was the only programmer. Smart Choice began specializing in online applications and lottery management systems. The more it grew, the more it started to compete against a big company based in Silicon Valley with offices in New York and Miami. In November, that big company, SchoolMint, joined forces with Smart Choice and brought Bienville in on board. Firefly Digital CEO Mike Spears also came on board as a strategic advisor to McDonald's leadership team. Now it lists itself as leader provider in enrollment management solutions to school districts and charter schools across the country. It serves more than 9 million students in 18,000 schools. You get to the point where the big projects get harder, BNView said. We had so much things going on. If there was a bid, it was us and schoolmen pretty much competing for the same bid. So when we finally decided, let's stop fighting and pulling against each other and start pulling in the same direction. Combined, we're the leader in that space. Tech jobs are arriving in Louisiana. Governor John Bel Edwards noted during Monday's announcement, and many of them are luring Louisiana natives back to their home state. Schoolmen will move quickly and entirely, with McDonald announcing Monday that his company has offers out to 6 people and will team with LIDA to host a career fair soon to hire 15 more. Holy Rosary partners with financing group, staff report. The group trying to restore the historic Holy Rosary Institute announced Thursday it has created a new partnership. The Holy Rosary Redevelopment Board and the Lafayette Public Trust Financing Authority announced they would work together to further revitalize the historic Holy Rosary Institute campus. Earlier this week, the LPTFA Board of Trustees voted to approve a 3-year agreement with Holy Rosary to fund the hiring of an executive director. The Holy Rosary Redevelopment Board has raised more than $4 million in grants and other state funding to help stabilize the structure of the building, Board President Dustin Craven said. Having a full-time executive director will help push forward the work of constructions as well as fundraising and long-range planning for the future of the site, which is expected to include both healthcare and educational components, Craven said. This is a result of hard work by dedicated volunteers, Craven said. The impact that the school has had on generations of students cannot be overestimated. We must preserve and celebrate this legacy so the future generations will be able to learn from and appreciate this history. The LPTFA is a public trust that was formed to benefit the city of Lafayette. The LPTFA decided to help fund the work at Holy Rosary because of the significant historical and cultural value of the school to the city of Lafayette. LPTFA Board of Trustees Chairman A.T. Daniels said, not only does restoring that site preserve an important historic building, we also hope it will drive further investment in that area of our city. Daniel said Holy Rosary is more than 100 years old and was for years the only school for African American children in Acadiana. Later was the only Catholic school for African American children. The Holy Rosary Institute was founded as the Catholic school for African American girls in the late 19th century and moved to Lafayette in 1913. The school became co-ed in 1947. It was closed by a diocese in the 1990s and abandoned and fell in disrepair. About 2010, the diocese transferred ownership to the Order of Nuns who had run the school. A man dies after motorcycle crashes into SUV. Staff report, a 30-year-old motorcyclist died after crashing into the back of an SUV on Ambassador Cafford Parkway Friday night. Emil Bicito of Baton Rouge died in an area hospital after suffering critical injuries. Bicito was riding a motorcycle in the 5500 block of Ambassador Cafford Parkway when, for unknown reasons, he crashed into the back of an SUV around 7:30 p.m. Friday. Lafayette Police spokesman Sergeant Wayne Griffin said in a statement. Bicito said the SUV were headed east in the outside lane when the crash happened. The investigation is ongoing. The statement said information about the driver of the SUV was not provided. And I'll move on to a couple other stories, but before I do that, let me just say we're almost heading into the point where our broadcast this morning will end at our TV stations on the audio portion of it, but you can continue to listen if you wish to the rest of the news reading broadcast this morning by tuning into first our YouTube station as AOC Community Media, or going to our online streaming radio station for free at Cypress Street Radio. That's CYPRESS Street Radio. Punch that in to your finder. Go to that page and you will see a play button and you'll be able to hear the rest of the news. And that is happening in about a minute or so. So continuing with a couple of more stories. COVID-19, coronavirus, the latest, Louisiana mortgages falling into delinquency. Pandemic driving economic hardship for some homeowners by Christian Mossbrucker. Louisiana ranks second in the nation in the percentage of homeowners who are late on their mortgage payments. More than 11% of home mortgages in the state were past due on payments or in delinquency as of June, which is higher than the 7.6 national average, according to data from Black Knight, a Florida-based publicly traded technology business with access to loan-level data from some of the largest mortgage service companies. There are 1.87 million homeowners across the country who are more than 90 days past due as of June, which is the highest level since early 2011. Past due and delinquency rates are highest in Mississippi at 12.5% of mortgages, followed by Louisiana, then New York at 10.9%, New Jersey at 10.6%, and Hawaii at 10.3%. Rates are 10.6% in Baton Rouge, 11% in Lafayette, and 13% in New Orleans. Fortunately, the majority of homeowners have obtained forbearance from lenders that allows them to delay payments after the coronavirus pandemic exploded in March and people were furloughed or put out of work by stay-at-home orders and business closures imposed to slow the spread of the disease. Still, some mortgages are in delinquency on the path to foreclosure, according to the Black Knight data. So far, though, less than 1% of loans in each area market were actually in foreclosure as of June, just 0.6% in Baton Rouge and 0.5% in both Lafayette and New Orleans, with homeowner protections imposed by Congress on federally backed home loans. The health of home mortgages is one aspect economists track closely in forecasting. If delinquencies were to turn into future foreclosures, the consequences can be staggering. It's a leading indicator. It gives you a sense of where things are heading. Gary Wagner, professor of economics at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, said of the past due and delinquency rates, potential for future foreclosures. That's because it's the major source of wealth as a big asset for most households, and it's a very serious sign because general people are taking every step to paying their mortgage before discretionary spending, he said. Almost 16% of wages in this country right now are coming from unemployment benefits. That's the highest it's ever been by a wide margin, Wagner said. There are big gaps between people. There are some who have zero opportunity for generating income and some who are not affected at all. If the home mortgage loan portfolio in the state continues on its current trajectory and foreclosures do resume, it could impact the property value of whole neighborhoods, even those who are current on mortgage, he said. The ripple effect would be noticeable. To keep whole or partial mortgage payments going, struggling homeowners have said in previous interviews that they were cobbling together savings, federal relief funds they have received, and unemployment checks to prevent being hit with a huge lump sum bill, which can be avoided if lenders are willing to alter the terms of the mortgages that are in foreclosure. With the pandemic hitting, the U.S. economy shrank more than 33% in the second quarter, a level not seen since the Great Depression and by far the largest drop since government record-keeping began in 1947. More than 30 million Americans are receiving unemployment benefits, with about 1 in 4 in the Louisiana workforce on unemployment. Not everybody who's in forbearance is skipping their payments, but every month that has gone by since forbearance, percentage of people paying has decreased, said Kenny Hodges, CEO of Baton Rouge-based Assurance Financial, the fifth largest home mortgage business in Louisiana based on rankings from McLean, Virginia-based compliance tech leadingpartners.com, which pulls millions of federal home mortgage disclosure act records into one place for analysis. During the 2016 flood that hit uninsured homeowners hard, GMFS offered forbearance to those impacted by the natural disaster as required, but this situation is different, said T. Brown, CEO of GMFS, which originated in more than 6,300 loans in Louisiana last year. We expect a second wave of foreclosures when the CARES Act forbearances expire, said Anthony Sagittarius, attorney who oversees the organization's home mortgage foreclosure preventers team. The last story of the morning, election 2020, there'll be no kissing of babies. Campaigns forced to keep distance turn more to social media. By Mark Ballard, Capitol Bureau editor. In his bid to be elected chief prosecutor in the West Bank parishes of the Baton Rouge metro area, Tony Clayton planned to hand out Krispy Kreme donuts at subdivision entrances, knock on doors, attend street parties, and visit every social club he could find. But that was before Louisiana had the nation's highest ratio of infections in the coronavirus pandemic, upsetting traditional political campaign tactics. Nobody wants to see a politician in a mask knocking out the door, Clayton said. Instead, he went digital. For the next 3 months, for the November 3rd elections, hundreds of Louisiana candidates will rely on technological interactions to replace looking voters in the eye and listening to their concerns, the method political strategists say is the most effective way to accumulate votes. What is the best way to campaign in the age of masks and social distancing? Well, that's going to be a work in progress, said Republican U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy, who is seeking a second term in November. Obviously, you can't work a restaurant because the restaurant is closed. Cassidy said he's going to rely on Zoom town halls, tweets, Facebook postings, and DIY video candidate shows. So will Democratic Shreveport Mayor Adrian Perkins, Cassidy's main rival, among 14 opponents. Obviously, we're going to have to heavily rely on technology, but mostly we'll rely on our messaging. He said, technology could level the playing field to allow an underfunded candidate to compete, but if they think they'll make up the lack of money, they will be disappointed, said Joshua Stockley, a political scientist teaching at the University of Louisiana at Monroe. In many ways, social media makes that task easier. As a well-known member of the Black community, Clayton already had received invites to church events and neighborhood parties, but the 18th Judicial District is 58% white, and getting personal time inside social circles not used to seeing Black faces isn't as automatic. Apart from occasional tweets, Clayton said he had no idea how social media worked. He hired veteran political strategist Roy Fletcher of Baton Rouge and a social media expert, Damon Gauthier of Denham Springs. Clayton said he had heard the term geofencing, but didn't really know what it meant before his campaign embraced the marketing technology. Basically using radio frequency identification, Wi-Fi, global positioning, and Bluetooth, geofencing allows candidates to lock into computers and smartphones and have their content repeatedly pop up on the devices of voters and the district's geographical boundary. Clayton was elected prosecutor when nobody signed up to run against him for the open seat, which is virtually unheard of in Louisiana politics. Clayton is a known quantity in the 18th Judicial District, where he was chief felony prosecutor for years. He successfully prosecuted 2 serial killers, Derek Todd Lead and Sean Gillis, sat on the Southern University System Board, palled around with Congressman Cedric Richmond, Democrat from New Orleans, and partnered with the current district attorney's son, State Senator Rick Ward, Republican from Port Allen, and one of the area's most prominent law firms. An exception is Acadiana Congressman Clay Higgins, who in 2016 knocked off Public Service Commission Chairman Scott Angel, a former lieutenant governor, cabinet secretary for 2 governors, and nearly successful candidate for governor. In his first campaign, Higgins filmed small gatherings in which the candidate spoke from the back of a pickup and shook hands with folks. Political videographer Chris Como edited each video into slick, fast-paced vignettes that were available on Facebook and YouTube. It was a combination of new media matched up with 30s campaign style, Como said at the time. The effort cost about $320,000, about a quarter of what NGL spent on television, yard signs, and the like. In Higgins' effort to win a third term in November, he faces opponents schooled in social media. One Democratic contender, Rob Anderson, a selfer, has about 100,000 Twitter followers and appears frequently in engaging DIY candidate shows. Social media is going to be critical of getting out our ideas, said Braylon Harris of Lake Charles, the other Democrat challenging Higgins, who also has an easy manner in crowds. There'll be no kissing of babies, Harris said. We'll take precautions, gloves, masks, 6 feet apart, all that stuff. It's not optimal, but we don't want to win by spreading COVID-19. And that about wraps up the broadcast for this morning. I went a few minutes over time. I appreciate you hanging in there. If you continue to listen at 9:55, our audio portion on our TV stations cut off, but you could continue to listen to me on our YouTube station, which is AOC Community Media, or our online streaming service at Cypress Street Radio. I appreciate it. As always, this is Bruce Cohen, will always be Bruce Cohen. I want you to stay healthy, I want you to stay safe, and I want you to stay smart. Please, folks, please be smart. Let's get this pandemic under controls in Louisiana and the rest of the country. Wear your mask at all times when you're out in public. Be careful. Take sanitation seriously. Wash your hands. Do all the stuff that we've been talking about for the last, 5-6 months now. And please, let's try to beat this thing. And let's do it together. And as always, be kind to each other. Have a great day.